Hello, Simps and merchants.
No.
Yes, and welcome back to Krown's magical, but also extremely serious
That's
magic,
right. Yes.
internet, money, Caveroni!
Welcome back to the Caveroni, or welcome back to the Krown Crypto channel, of which I would like to wish you a happy and healthy start to this nice Tuesday morning over here as we get prepared to leave. Bitcoin also getting prepared to leave, and I wanted to follow up on some medium and higher term time frame ideas because they are once again continuing. And also because it is one of those times, and I'm curious to ask the community as well if you kind of feel this, but it does feel to me like one of those times, especially on crypto Twitter and crypto YouTube, that most people are not discussing whether Bitcoin goes up or down. It is basically down only, and how far down will Bitcoin likely be going. So in this case, that would offer up the potential for a trap opportunity. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's 100% going to be confirmed here, obviously, but I did want to go over a potential scenario and what that would look like if it were to happen, just because, well, weird things do happen, obviously. Anyways, without further ado, let's just jump right into the charts. Let's waste no more time, and let's go over here into the 12-hour time frame. And I wanted to first start it off with the 12-hour volatility represented by the BBWP indicator getting down towards extreme lows. Now, we've seen extreme lows on the 12-hour BBWP several times in the past month, actually, namely the early November, that being the November 4th drop, and then also the late October pump, or I guess the closest thing that we've seen to a pump in a while now. Anyways, in this case, to give you an idea of what those looked like in the past month, this was a move to the upside, basically unabated for about, or if I actually go from the low to the high, that would be about 15-ish%. And from the last high, where we did see the BBWP reset into the next major low, well, that's been nearly a 30% move. So we are looking at likely a big move from here, as all of the time frames, basically agree with each other and basically paint the same sort of signal. So we're seeing the aligning of stars, if you will. So while there is very, very low volatility, that essentially implies that we're very likely to see, a big move, so to speak. Then we go look at, or at least I go look at the momentum, also just get a bias on direction. And what do you know? Bitcoin did confirm on CME 1, 2, 3 drives of hidden bearish divergence on the 12-hour time frame yesterday, alongside the 12-hour jewel getting a downside signature right here. But here's the thing. I did say that I'd go over a trap scenario here. And of course, this is not necessarily my most likely scenario to happen, simply because, well, as we've been going over the higher term time frame setups, the statistics do suggest downside still more likely, obviously, as it has been for the past, well, for a while now, actually. But what would essentially confirm a trap, thus being a good indication that Bitcoin is going to recover itself, probably move its way back into the certainly the upper 19s and very likely the low 20s. Well, that would be with no less than a higher term time frame closure above about $17,000. If you see something like that, that'd be a damn good indication that Bitcoin's going to do the unthinkable and going to recover. And we can all just look at this as a figment of our imaginations right now. But yes, as we do go through the momentum also just a little bit more, I did want to go through the stochastic momentum on the daily, 12-hour, 6-hour, and below. The daily is going to be still downside pivoted as long as Bitcoin is closing below 16,450 on CME, that is, which does have about a $100 discount relative to spot price action. That discount is rapidly dissipating because we are, getting closer to the end of the month, and well, at the end of the month, it's going to be worth parity, basically. Anyways, the daily pivot, again, 16,450. The 12-hour pivot is going to be 15,900, going to be fresh turn down if that does indeed happen. The 6-hour time frame is going to be pivoted at 16,150. The 4-hour time frame is going to be pivoted at 15,700, and then the hourly time frame is going to be pivoted at 15,650. So the only one that is actually above right now is the hourly, but you can see that a lot of these pivots are very close to current price action. So what does that essentially imply? It essentially implies that if we do not see continuation of the downside, basically within this next 24, maximum 48-hour period here, we're probably going to see a bounce. And if that bounce does occur and starts to reclaim back above $17,000 on CME, not spot price action, but on CME on a closing basis, higher term time frame, then we start to talk about potential trap scenarios. But until then, risk remains to the downside. It is still, more or less likely to move to the downside. All right, cool. Or, well, maybe not so cool for the blue laws out there. Now I wanted to go over to the 5-day time frame, which we last spoke about, I believe, over the weekend, or sorry, last week, because it hasn't, closed in 5 days, just closed again last night. And, well, it's looking like continuation. So I want to go over the signal yet again. We won't go over the full signal for the 2-day time frame. I'll just go over the pivots there because that one also did close, but we already went over it yesterday. But basically on the 5-day time frame here, we're looking at a volatility versus stochastic momentum signature. The volatility component is represented by the BBWP indicator right here on the 5-day time frame. And basically anytime that it goes below this green horizontal bar that my cursor is currently on right now, I consider that extreme lows. And what naturally follows mathematically after extreme lows is an expansion phase where we've observed over the past almost 5 years now an average move of 42.35%, done over the course of about 37 days from the last major high. And if we were to look at the first standard deviation, which is where we expect 68% of the results to fall between for the average move, that'd give us a range or an areas of interest, I should say, between 35.25% all the way up to 49.5% about. Here's the thing. This one just closed again last night, and the reason why this is relevant is twofold. One, volatility continues to expand. So this signal is confirmed. It's not that it is confirmed. It has been confirmed, but we're seeing, the continuation of it essentially. And then two, the 5-day stochastic oscillator is still nosediving and very heavy down right here in the critical bear territory. Now, it will be remaining with downside momentum as long as Bitcoin is closing below 18,350. Let me just make sure that my microphone's good. Okay. Yeah. A few people have been saying that the volume's quite low, which I apologize for, but well, I think it's about as good as it can get right now. All right, so fair enough. Anyways, so 18,350 or so is going to be that major area. So as long as Bitcoin's closing below there within the next 5-day period, well, again, risk remains to the downside. That would also go to say that if we did see the potential trap scenario and then Bitcoin especially recovered above 18,000 on a 5-day closing basis, that'd be another good, damn good indication that Bitcoin's probably going to work its way back up towards 20,000. Again, I think that that's much less likely as this setup has actually been more or less perfect in getting the direction alongside the stochastic oscillator for the last 5 years. Doesn't mean it's always going to be perfect. Obviously, we do expect that to fail, and very much in the past it has failed, previously, like before that 5-year period, obviously. But for now, pretty damn good. So in this case, we've already seen a pretty big move. Nearly a 30% move from the highs. Obviously, if we're going to see, another continuation, these averages, give us kind of an area of interest for the next stop somewhere in like the mid $13,000 territory for spot price action. That is for spot price action. Yes. Okay. So we've gone over that. That reminds me, I forgot to go over this. Apologies. But basically, I did want to follow up on the descending triangle that we were looking at on Bitcoin over here. Let me just briefly put it on this time frame, just easier to see right here. And we actually closed below the range lows of it already. So that would imply a measure move somewhere down to the on spot price action. Did I have the? Oh, I don't have that right because I literally can't see the bottom of it. Yeah, it'd be 14,500 or so, again, on a closing basis. That can be invalidated by popping back up above about 16,300, so do be aware of that. But again, that doesn't invalidate, of course, the higher term timeframes ideas just yet. So yes, again, keeping in mind the average days at 37, we're looking for this to happen, statistically speaking, most likely like between the like this next 2 to 3 week period, if we're going to see any of these higher levels hit, that is. But to reference some of the lower levels, I'd like to go back to the 2-day time frame over here, which did close last night. And what do you know? Bitcoin continues to close below the 2-day time frame momentum pivot. This signal very similar to the past, just a slightly different volatility indicator. It's represented by the volatility of stochastic momentum, which my cursor is currently on right now. Same sort of setup though. Gets down to extreme lows, expands from those extreme lows, coupled with the direction of the stochastic oscillator. It's been pretty accurate in getting the overall direction of a major move. In this case, it's actually not perfect. It is 83% hit rate over the full history of CME, that is. So more iterations here, which I prefer, obviously, but still, we're only dealing with like 10, 11 iterations, which is like not perfect. I want to see like 50 to 100 realistically, which is how I do it on the lower term timeframes. When I'm back testing ideas. But in this case, best that we can do, obviously, with the history that we do have thus far. So a few things of interest right here as Bitcoin continues to remain below the momentum pivot. Again, 17,200. Again, it's also kind of where I'm getting that 17,000 number from. Would like to see a closure back above that region if Bitcoin is going to put in a bit of a trap situation. As long as it's below there, though, still most likely to continue to the downside. And as far as timing goes, we do see that this signal typically takes about 24 to 25 days to play out. Why is that relevant? Well, this signal was essentially born in early November, and we've already moved 18 days through it. So that would literally give us about a week from today to next Tuesday, basically. I've been given it kind of like a 7 to 10 day period, because there's going to be some variance here. This is an average. It's not like an exact number, obviously. These statistics, not certainties, of course, but it does give us kind of an area of interest. So if there is going to be continuation, if we are going to see truly new lows on this asset, probably happens within this next 7-day stretch. And keep in mind that this is a holiday week for America on Thursday, and then Friday basically as well. So if it's really going to happen, it probably even happens today or tomorrow, that being Tuesday or Wednesday, or maybe next Monday if it's going to be happening. And so we can also, again, use the average moves and the first standard deviation to get an area of interest for continuation moves. We've actually already hit the bottom side of the first standard deviation. Obviously, this move has already seen about 32% to the downside. But if we were to go for the average, which would kind of be the next stop or the next area of interest from this perspective, that would put Bitcoin, if I can actually do it properly, that would be good. Let's see. All right, there we go. That would put Bitcoin basically at the mid to low $13,000 territory, somewhere around there, again, on a closing basis. So, and this is on CME, by the way, as well, which does have a bit of a discount to spot price action. So do be aware of that. That would kind of be like the next area of interest, very likely a bounce around there, and probably a bounce in the interim as well. If the measured move off of the descending triangle gets hit, which obviously it would, if it's, if the major one's going to get hit as well at $14,500. So do be aware of that. And that would be kind of like the next area-ish that I'd be saying, at least I'd be interested in to look for a bounce. Again, that's going to be on like a 2-day time frame, so somewhere between about 13 to 13,500. Same areas that we've been looking at for quite some time now, but as you can see, this has been like the slowest move of all time. It's just been like slowly shearing the bulls off the cliff. Very, very nasty, but hey, that's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. Anyways, I think that's a good place for me to be leaving this one off. Like I said, we're going to be traveling today and probably going to be tired and maybe even traveling a little bit tomorrow. So do understand that it might take a little bit of time to get back to emails and messages. In the interim, we'll do our best, obviously, when we have internet connectivity, but we'll be back in the battle station and like fully, accustomed to it. Probably best to say tomorrow, Wednesday. So that should do it. Anyways, with that said, I want to be wishing you the best as always. Take care, much love, and I forgot to warn you, hey, if you're interested in any one of the programs, just wait a couple of days. We're literally gonna have a sale. Don't unless you just want to use more money, that's fine, obviously. But if you do want to save a few bucks, just wait a few more days. It's all good, and we'll have a nice little sale for 20% off for. And Elsa says, watch the videos. Anyways, cool. That's it for today. Much love. Take care, and see you hopefully soon.